Right, hello everybody. I'm doing the May You Be Inspired by collaboration with loads of others. I'll put all the links down below. I'm not doing a face-to-face. That's not something I do. You know, like a few others have said, it means they got to put makeup on. I might actually be allergic to makeup now. And I was invited by Mandy Reed and Justin. So thank you so much for inviting me. It's lovely. This sort of video is very hard for me to do, I will say, because I like to craft while I talk and things like that. So I'm going to flip through the journals. I've got a couple here that I've, still got. Yeah, so I will tell my story while I'm flipping through this journal and a couple of others. It started many moons ago. I've always crafted and loved it, but I always had a fascination with pens and paper, and because while I had them I never got bored, and I used to get bored quite easily. I was always very, very active, so I needed, even though, I was doing gymnastics at school and netball and everything else, when I come home, I still needed to be active. So paper and pens, brilliant. I'm not saying I was an artist or anything like that, because I just used to doodle and like drawing and, just cutting up bits of paper, basically. I'm not showing you my journal, sorry. So I got to concentrate. So it's very hard for me to multitask now because of my age. It seems that everything has slowed up. So I started off, I think, doing things like that. And I was chucked out of, what did I used to do at school? Needlework. I was actually chucked out of the class only because they wanted us to make an apron. Well, I'm afraid I didn't want to make an apron because I didn't enjoy eating. And I thought, I'm never going to cook because I don't like food. So, yeah, you see what I'm like now. So I'm not going to make an apron. It could have been anything else. I would most probably ended up really loving it because I love sewing. But I just don't want to make an apron. So anyway, so that was it. Yeah, art school it's more, years ago, it was more like fine art. There wasn't no sort of fabulous mixed media, which I would have loved, that sort of thing. So, yeah, that was it. And then I got into horses and, the rest was history until I come to Cornwall and done hairdressing. And along with hairdressing, I refound art again, really, and computers and things like that. So I started off embroidery. I taught myself, used to do loads of embroideries, cross stitch, tapestry, you name it, I done it. I don't do so much of that now because it's the fine motor skills of not so good. So I then ended up knitting and bought a knitting machine, loved it, done that for a few years. Then knitting went out of fashion, and so I didn't do that anymore. Then I done card making and loved it, and I only gave that up about 5 years ago. I was still selling to the local shops here. There were big orders, and I just, once I got into junk journaling, I didn't have the time to do them. So that was that. But card making I loved, and I must have done that for 5 or 6 years. Then I went to mini albums, loved all that. Followed follow the paper trail. They're still around now, the people. There was a couple of people, I can't actually remember their names, and I used to do loads of mini albums, and I used to sell them locally. But then I got up to a stage where I felt as though it was all too perfect, if you know what I mean. And if you I went off it and then I was one day sort of looking through YouTube, as you do, and saw Yvonne's video. Yvonne Crafty Preston, I think she's in the collaboration as well. And saw one of her junk journals, and I'm looking at it, and I've always liked junk anyway. Absolutely love junk, and of any kind. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I really love this. Really love it. Oh, before I done that, I actually done jewellery making as well. Forgot that. Yeah, done a bit of that. So that's why I like making dangles, because that's my little bit of jewellery now. Yeah, I used to do like out silver, and they used to be lovely. And they used to sell well in the shop in hairdressers as well. So, yeah. Anyway, I found Yvonne. Sorry, I'm jumping around a bit. And, oh my God, I was looking at the journal thinking, oh my God, I love it. I love doing that. That's just up my, street. So that's where it began, really. And I'm so thankful for Yvonne for finding her. And she's been an absolute great asset to me with my digital side. Yeah, so I think the digital side came next, because I love paper, and I've always been fascinated with computers and editing photos, and things like that. I've done that for, long time. So I thought, I might do my own paper, because when I buy a paper pad, I never finish it, and I have enough of looking at it. Do you know what I mean? So I want to buy another one rather than finish off that one. So I like doing my own papers, because I think, well, once I've used them, I don't have to go back to them again, even though I do actually, because some of them are really nice. So I sort of give it a break, and then I'll go back to it, print it out. And so that's where the digital side of things come, really. And plus, it was so expensive in the UK to buy these paper pads. Plus, we didn't have the range, of nice papers. And it was frustrating, because you want all these nice papers, but you just couldn't get them. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do my own. It was hard. I'm not saying, because I've never sort of done any like college graphic work or anything like that, but I stuck to it and, learnt along the way. And I do like lots of layers, same as in my artwork and mixed media. I love lots of layers, and I tend to do that in my digitals, so which I find fun to do. My sort of page is my artwork, so yeah, that's where that come from. And yeah, so there it was, really, how it evolved. But it certainly did, and it's certainly an absolute wonderful journey. I mean, I love it, and this community is absolutely fantastic. It really is. And I've met some lovely people face to face as well, and and online, and it's just been fantastic. And I think it's quite a safe place to be too, if you know what I mean, because we all help each other out and things like that, which is just brilliant. Love it. Right, okay. Main advice. Okay, is one of the main things actually is from Tim Holtz. And the day he said that, and I thought it was so true. And he said, he does him, you do you. And do you know what? That is so important. And there is one of my main things, and I've got actually a journal I recently done, and I sent it to Yvonne, and it said, art has no rules on the front. And that is so true. It hasn't. Just do you. And don't compare yourself with, don't, if you're just starting out, don't compare your beginning with someone else's middle. We're all at different stages. So I know it's hard, and, and I know we're all guilty of it. Our inner critic takes over, doesn't it? And, but just try. That's all you can do, is try not to compare. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we're working with what? A piece of paper, what what damage can we do? You know, we can alter it if need be. If it goes wrong, put it on your alteration pile and go over it. You know, it's okay. And going wrong, you'll find that you learn from that. When you make mistakes, because you'll think, right, how do I get out of that? Even with a journal, you know, like something like this, if I make a mistake, yeah, I then think, right, how do I get out of that? You know, and something evolves from that. And I think that's what's great about, you know, junk journals and things. It's okay to mess up, you know, and you can always do things with it. Always. And right, I'm going to turn my piece of paper over a minute. Oh yeah, now, another top tip, right, especially on journals. If it's your first journal, don't put too many pages in, all right, for your first journal. 10 max, all right, because it grows. Honestly, I've done journals that I think is going to be okay, because when you first put it together, it's all flat, you know, and you think, oh my God, there's not enough pages in it, so you put more in. And then you start adding all these pockets and embellishments and things like that, and it becomes a gator mouth, massive. I still do it today. It still happens. So, you know, I should listen to my own advice, really. Tip is keep it simple. Don't get too complicated too early. Just do some little simple projects. Yeah. Even if those little simple projects that you do add to a bigger project later on, but you've done something and you've completed it. Because I think that's what happens is, you know, people sort of go in, they make a massive journal and then they never finish it because it's such a big project, and they, you know, they just get stuck. So I suggest you just keep it simple. Yeah. And all your scraps. Some people say throw them away. I say don't throw them away. That, because I use my scraps all the time and I love them. I've made some of the best things I've ever made using my scraps. Yeah. So, you know, you don't have to keep every single bit, you know, and you could also colour coordinate them, and then tonally, you know, light, dark and medium tone, so that they're, you know, so you have a bit of variation in your little packs. Sorry, I love this envelope. And yeah, do it like that, really. Yeah, I think that's about it. And collage, I love collage so much, and that's one thing I'll do if I'm feeling a bit icky or anything like that. I think I might have shown you that. I will bring out my collage. Yeah. And also, no, I've disappeared. Sorry, folks. I'm just hitting this one because this is another area which I like to play with, is, you know, like the mixed media. And this, I've made this years ago. I think I've done a whole video on this. And this was just painted cardboard and everything like this. I've done this about 5 years ago, I think. And I absolutely loved it. And some of these things were gifted to me, and I put them in, and I just went mad on paper and chopped it all up and put it in here. And I love mushrooms. So I'm knitting them at the moment. See, I'm knitting again. What's that about? You know, it's that I find clears my head, though, because sometimes I get too many ideas in my head and they're all, you know, buzzing around and nothing comes out because there's too many in there. So I knit, and that gives me clear mind. Yeah. So, oh, that's somebody sent me that. I haven't put that in there. Yeah. Yeah, so this was, you know, this was me painting trees. Yeah, does it look like a tree? Not really. Oh, another one. So, but it's nice to, my first tree stamp. Oh my gosh, that was about, I think I'd done that 5 or 6 years ago. But fun. Yeah. And just put anything with trees in. So you see, this is just bits of cardboard. But you could do, you know, like one of these pages if you fancy doing something arty, you know, and just put it away. Then you might end up with 6 or 7 of them. Then put it together in a journal. And it just, you know, you develop as you go along. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening to me waffle on about myself, which I hate doing. Very, very difficult to talk about myself. And just go for it, folks. Have fun. That's the main thing, is have fun and no rules. Remember? No rules. It doesn't have to be a certain size. You do you. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for watching then. And I'll speak to you all very soon. Bye.